And I think we're now recording. I tried to record the morning session as well, but it seems like that didn't quite rightly save the file. So hopefully this one will save. So it's the week 17, so the finals week. And we're doing the evening session. And I'm going to go through, I think today is going to be a little quicker, but there's time for questions and so on. I'm just going to show a couple of things that I wanted to highlight. Really, mainly talking about the finals week project. What do we need to know about it? And I want to highlight that that's all extra credit. So whatever you do counts as positive towards your grade. And I can't believe, but we are at the very last week. It seems like this semester has gone super fast. At times it feels like it took forever, but not because of this class, because of other things that have been going on. But we've come to the end of the semester, and I have to congratulate you. It's been the weirdest semester yet. I think that spring was weird, but there was at least half of the semester was normal. But now everything seems to be in a completely new way. So just the fact that you've survived this speaks volumes of what you can accomplish when we don't have all the craziness going on that's going on now. So this week I have a finals project for you guys, and that's extra points towards your final grade. So it will not, no matter what you do, even if you submit nothing, it will not bring down your overall grade. If you submit something, it will count positive. And if you do an amazing job, you can get 100 points. I think you can get a little more as well if you really blow it out of the park, do an amazing job. Really, the big thing with the finals project is that you can do it of anything that you want to do. That just slightly or some way you can find a twist that it relates to the materials that we have covered during this course. So we've talked about the endocrine system. So it was all about the hormones and the glands that produce hormones. And we had a look of also how the hormones act and that sort of things. So anything of those could be one potential topic. You could also talk about the cardiovascular system if there was anything that was especially interesting for you. You could talk about lymphatic or immune system. I think that there's a lot of autoimmune diseases that are kind of interesting. Anything to do with the respiratory system, urinary system, digestive system, or reproductive system. So it doesn't have to be an anatomical structure. It can, or it doesn't have to be a physiological process. It can if you want. It can also be pathology. It can be how systems link together. It can really be anything at all that you wish for this project. So it's up to you what you find that interests you. And like I said, you can also do the work in any method that you wish. So it can be a mini paragraph about something. It can be a mini essay. It can be a video. It can be an animation. It can be PowerPoint. A lot of my students in the past classes have enjoyed of doing a kind of a virtual poster. So basically what they've done, they've taken a big PowerPoint slide and made it as if it was a poster. So throwing some pictures and short text snippets. So not writing a full-on essay about the topic, but short facts. But that's not the only way to do it. It's just one way that I know that my students have done it in the past, but you can do anything you wish. So it really is only your imagination is the limit. You can do whatever interests you. That's how I would approach it. That what you find that you can bear to work on still this week before heading to the Christmas break. So use that as your guidance. really in terms of how much effort you should put in, remember it's all extra. So there's no, whatever you do, it's all going to be positive to your final grade. I'd say that anything between 30 minutes and maybe an hour and a half would sound good to me in terms of how long you could spend on it. But really, it could be anything. Sorry, I'm running out of space here. So don't spend forever on it. I know that you have things to get to, and the Christmas is coming, and there's a lot that everyone has to attend to. So spend an hour, spend a couple of hours, but that's about it. And that sort of a workload should earn you full marks. But if you want to spend less on it, say 10 minutes, you'll still get some points. So really, sometimes students find it exciting to have all the freedom in the world, and sometimes they are like totally, I don't know how to approach this. So if you are on the later group, I have a couple of suggestions how you can tackle it. But first of all, you should be able to see on the canvas for this week the extra credit assignment, and that's the finals week project. And really, there's nothing compulsory that you have to do. But if you do that, that counts towards your final score. And I think I marked there 100 points. But what I normally do, to be totally honest, I don't remember what's the total points that we can earn on this course, but it's like one letter grade up that you can earn from the finals project. So it might be more than 100 points, but it adds up to something like a letter grade that you can move up by doing perfect job on. There's also the description of the project that's in when you click to that link, but I also have a file that you can download. But remember, it's all additional points about a letter grade. Like I said, it could be about anything at all that relates to this course. It doesn't have to be a specific structure. It doesn't have to be a specific physiological process. It doesn't even have to be a specific pathology. It could be that you look how urinary system and digestive system are linked. You make a small thing about that. And it can be a little text piece. It can be PowerPoint, it can be video, it can be a poster, whatever you feel that works for you. But the big thing that I'm asking, which I know is different from this course in general, and I will make an announcement of that tonight still, I think, that it would need to be returned by Friday. So the Friday of this week, and I think it's going to be December 18th, by the end of the day, because right after that, probably on the same night, if not on the same night, early in the following morning, I will finalize the grades and I will send you a message that this is the grade that you ended up with. And then you have like 24 hours to let me know if you're totally upset that no, it's not what I wanted and it doesn't look correct and all this, because I will have to submit the grades by Monday. So it gives me that little time to finalize your grades and for you a little time to respond to me. If you contact me about your grade, say on Tuesday next week, there's really nothing I can do at that point anymore because I've sent. You don't have to even try to cry about it. I am very good about working. If your grade isn't where it should be and you are like, oh no, I probably will send you an assignment that you have 24 hours to do. So you'll get it up. But you always make me laugh, and I promise that that's alone counting positive towards your grade. So that's the big deal on that. I have a little bit of a thing that I made, which is hold on, I'm going to open another file here, which is kind of an instruction sheet with a little bit of details of what I'm doing in terms of the grading and so on this project. So let me just pull up. It should be on your assignment as well, but because there's always a lot going on, I just quickly want to show it to you. So you should be able to see my screen, which is a PDF file on the Adobe Reader. So this very same text that we had earlier on is there as well. I noticed there was a spelling error somewhere this morning when I was presenting it, but I did not go back and change it. So there's just a spelling error. We'll live with that. But there is a grading matrix of what I would use if it was written about a pathology. This is kind of the way I would look at how many points you get for which thing. But really, I know that not all projects are going to be about pathology. So it might not be that some of these questions apply to the work that you did. And if that's the case, I'm just going to grade it as the project as what it is, considering that the maximum points are 100 points. I might not include all of the grading metrics parts of it. And if you were, for example, there were 60 points available on this only because the rest of the questions don't relate to that, then I would just scale the 60 points up to what it would be out of 100. So you would still get there was the spelling error. So there is overall, what I'm trying to say is that there is overall a chance to get 100 points or a 1 grade letter of your grade up. So things that I could look at is that, are you using proper language? Are you using, if you're talking about directions, the anatomical directional terms, superior, inferior, medial, lateral, distal, proximal, things like that, rather than saying that it's on top of saying that liver is below diaphragm. You would talk about that it's inferior to diaphragm or something like that. So you're using correct terms. Also, that are you providing definition? If you use a crazy term that no one will know or that an average person would not know, are you kind of explaining what it would be? For example, if we would talk about, we just talked last week about corpus luteum, how it disappears and degenerates as if there's no pregnancy. So you could, for example, use a term that it will atrophy. So then you would have to explain that, okay, what does that mean? So you're kind of opening the definitions for someone who might not know those exact same terms or might not be as skilled as you are. The really biggest amount of points would be about telling whatever the topic is what you're doing. In this example I had, if you're talking about the pathology, you explain what it is. You describe it. If it would be a structure, you would describe what that structure is. If it would be a physiological process, you would explain what happens in that process. You might talk about, if it relates to your team, that is there some factors that make you more likely to get that pathology. For example, are genetics involved? Is there lifestyle issues? Is there an exposure to something? But again, that might not apply to all of the projects. Prognosis. What does the future look if you have done your project about condition of some kind? You could talk if it's also about some sort of a physiological structure or process, or even if it's an anatomical structure, you would talk what happens when you get older. That as you're young, this happens, and then when you get older, this and that happens. You could talk about, is there some sort of a treatment, clinical interventions? Can we do something? If it's a pathology problem that you talk about that can happen to disease, can we do something? And if you're able to do a little bit of reflection that, oh, this treatment is good, but there's a side effect of this, or there's a risk of this, that would be like an ideal answer that you're kind of not just listing that, oh, you can do this, this, and this. Worst answer would be that, oh, you can change your lifestyle. And I'd be like, change what in your lifestyle? If you explain a little more, then you would get the full point. Said, oh, you would change your lifestyle by cutting down the amount of use of salt and stopping smoking and stopping alcohol. I don't know. I'm just picking up things that could be. If you're able to say anything about the alternative treatments, what could apply to this condition, if you're doing it about the condition, that'd be cool. Like, for example, about naturopathy, there's different kinds of approaches there, or some folk wisdoms that, say, original inhabitants of this area have used this and this herb to treat this issue. But again, not all projects have that sort of an aspect. So if it doesn't apply to you, you don't have to worry about it. One that I think that will apply to everything, no matter what you do, is ongoing research. Is there any research going on about it? And I'm not meaning for you to do a huge research project. Remember that I'm asking you to spend only between 30 minutes and an hour and a half. So you basically just look at the very first couple of things that come up. You don't have to work like crazy for this assignment. This really is not something that I want you to spend all week. A couple of hours is plenty on this. If there's anything else that is amazing about your project, how it's presented, or if it's really clear, or if there's nice illustrations, for example, references, if you include them, that would be always a really, really good thing. I would give lots of points for that. But really, none of these are like that, oh, you need to have that, or otherwise you will not get good points. It depends about the project that you do. And like I said, many students of mine are totally overwhelmed when I give them freedom. So for that reason, I know that some students have enjoyed in the past doing pathologies. So I went and listed last Sunday. I tried to start listing all of the pathologies that I could think of per each system, but I gave up. Once I got to 100 different options, I was like, there's enough. If you can't find an option from those, then think of your own. But I can't think of what it could be. So it doesn't have to be one of these. These are just to give you ideas. If you can't come up with anything that would interest you. So in terms of the endocrine system hormones, there's a lot of things that you can have too much hormones or too little hormones. So that could be kind of a cool thing. Or talk about what if you become too large, if you have too much growth hormone, you become a giant. That is an actual condition. You're growing abnormally fast. Is there issues with that? Or if you don't have enough growth hormone, you remain as a small, don't grow physically as much. That will have also physiological effects, not just anatomical effects. So there's a lot that you could do. What happens in puberty or abnormally early puberty? We talked about in the last 2 chapters about that puberty, especially on girls, we're noticing it starting earlier than ever before in the history. Why is that? But those are all things that I'm just throwing out ideas. In terms of the blood, there was a lot, many different kinds of anemias that you could consider, leukemias, other cancers of the blood that could work on that, bleeding sickness. There's a lot. Or say that you've got a deep vein thrombosis that then become an pulmonary embolism as that clot develops somewhere because you're not moving and then it travels to your lungs. That could be one example. In the heart, there's a lot. And I kept this really simple because I didn't want to go crazy. But it can be about coronary arteries. It can be about plaque building. It could be anything. It could be disorders that come from early development into childhood. Say when you're born, all of a sudden that bypass of the blood from your right atria to your left atria doesn't close. You have an issue with that. Or your valves might not work correctly. I think stroke is a good example as well there. Blood vessels. There's a lot. Again, you could talk about edemas, lymphedemas. So blood building up somewhere because it's not picked up. Or you could talk, we had done the exam, the question about the soldier who passed out because he was standing in one position for a long time. In terms of the lymphatic system, again, edemas, you could talk about tonsils, tonsillectomy, tonsillitis, tonsil stones. Then there's a lot of, I think that good examples of autoimmune diseases that are listed there. There's others as well. This is just what I could think of. And I'm not the most creative on Sunday evening, but that's what I could come up with. So there's a lot in there. In respiratory system, asthma, that can be kind of a good one, interesting one. Or anything else that you can think of. There's a lot. I'm noticing that I've listed emphysema twice. So I guess that's one topic. I'm not saying that one is better than another one. Or you can keep it very general. You could talk about lung cancers. That's one example. There's a lot that you could. And all of these are, when you click on to the weekly module, in there, the extra credit assignment, final week project, you'll find this exact same file. So if you want to look more examples. In urinary system, you could talk about things going on with kidneys or even on a nephron alone, or you could then go to other parts of the urinary system. There's a lot that can that are available there as well. Digestive system, it could be something very modest, not a huge risk to our well-being. It could be heartburn, stomach acid reflux, for example, or it can be something very minor like stomach flu, or it can be something that's really big deal, like say inflammatory bowel disease or syndrome. I think another one that's not usually a huge issue, but we can deal with it. You could talk about what if there's issues of emptying your digestive system or gallstones. We kind of touched upon that, but we didn't really talk too much. But remember, keep this very basic. I'm not expecting a huge amount of research. Just have fun with it. If I can tell that you had fun with it, you'll get full marks. The reproductive system, there's so much that can work with that. It could be STIs, it could be about having trouble of conceiving a child. It could be about IVF, in vitro fertilization. It could be many different kinds of cancers. It could be issues with impotence, or it could be, there's a lot that could be. I think that one of the conditions that was the hardest for me, and I won't go too far, but hardest time that I've ever had to speak to a patient, there's a condition which is known as having a hostile vagina, which means that the pH of the female reproductive tract is unsuitable for the male sperm to survive there. And just the name of that condition, it was really hard to go and tell to a patient that, no, you're just hostile. That was a stupid story, but there's a lot of interesting things that you can find when you're looking for topics on these projects. But you pick whatever you're interested in, and it doesn't have to be a pathology. So I'm just trying to think of examples. So let me jump back to what we had on the PowerPoint. Just bear with me. Before we go to the PowerPoint, I actually have I prepared a template. If you wanted to do a poster and you were like, I have no idea how I'm going to do a poster, you can do whatever you want. This is not something that I'm saying that this is a perfect way to do it. I'm just trying to show you multiple ways, multiple ideas. But if you were stuck, you really wanted to do a poster and you didn't know how to do it, this is one way to approach it. So I uploaded this template there on your canvas. You could use this, for example, to make it nice. You could talk a little bit introduction. You could have pictures. If you do pictures and you want full points or extra points, you could include a legend for the picture telling what it is. And usually there's like a figure 1 or fig 1. And then you refer to it in the text, that as you can see in figure 1, for example. It's kind of a good habit that if you have a picture, you somehow acknowledge that in the text part, but it wouldn't be a big deal if you didn't have that. But if you use this template and you do it about pathology, I've highlighted all the things that you would need to mention to get 100 points. But it's not like you have to do it about pathology. That was just the only thing I could kind of think of quickly. If you do tables and you want to get it spot on correct, in tables, the legend goes actually on top of the table, which is weird, but that's just the way it's done in scientific publication. But it's not a big deal. I'm just trying to think of examples, what could be done. You could have multiple pictures. It'd be really cool if you include references. I'm very big on references being included because, and I can tell you why, because I used to work as a full-time researcher, and how your salary, not completely, but a big part of your salary is defined in certain institutions, if you're a researcher, is that how many times your research is referenced to by other publications or other scientists. So you'll notice if you go to scientific news, scientific journals, and they have a list of references. Well, there's actually softwares that count that how many times one is mentioned. And for example, my salary was partially dependent on that, how many times my work was mentioned by others. So that's why I'm always like, give credit to people who have done the work. But this is just one example of how you could approach it. You don't have to do it in this way. I'm just trying to give options and give ideas. So let me jump back to another PowerPoint, or the one that we were looking earlier on. And I promise then we'll wrap up. I'm trying to be very efficient today, but I'm here, of course, if you have questions later on. Let me just pull that up. And I think you should be seeing the PowerPoint that we were looking earlier on. We talked about the finals week project. And then the next thing to mention is that if you have any assignments that you still want to take or you haven't had a chance to take, those I would ask you to get done by Friday. If there's anything that needs to be reopened and you're present on this session now, after the session, just tell me and I'll open them immediately. If you're watching a recording, message me. This week, I'm at the Canvas logged in all week until Friday during the working days. This is the only thing I'm doing this course this week from now on. So I am very, very reachable, but I really would appreciate if you can tell me details, what you need. Other thing, if you have done any work and you have done it as a late submission, please, please, please check that the points for that have appeared on the grades on the Canvas. If the points have not appeared, let me know. Sometimes that happens and no one really knows why. Once the deadline has gone and then we open it again, sometimes those points don't update from Connect to Canvas. And if that's the case, let me know. I will just go and manually give you those points. But if I don't know, I can't do it. And if I don't do it, you've done all that work and then you don't get credit for it. And that would be very disappointing for you and for me that you worked hard and you're not getting recognition for that. But the biggest thing that I'm trying to say is, again, please, 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 please try to get everything done by Friday, the end of this coming Friday, which is the 18th, I think, because I am gonna, if not that night, then on Saturday morning, I'm gonna finalize the grades and I'm gonna let you know where your grade is standing. And if you're at that point like, no, I was planning to do everything on Saturday and Sunday, I probably will not be too excited about that, because we really want to get you your grade that you want and you deserve, but we don't want to be rushing on the last day. So really, the big thing for this week is that it doesn't take you long to do the finals week project. And that's pretty much all I had planned for that. So I do have time for questions. If you want to ask questions, I can also pause the recording. But for anyone who's watching the recording, that's all I have for now. And I appreciate you joining.